community isn't built by the people who show up when it's easy. It's built by the people who stay when it's hard. Really soak that in for a second, right? It's not when it's easy. It's about when things get hard and the people that show up and they stay around you. Everybody, episode 9. Let's kick this off. Let's fall in and let's get this lesson going. Let me be the first to tell you that we've heard me say it before that I've been very hesitant. This is kind of scarce. This is kind of a new thing I'm kind of doing again. And since I've done this thing, I've only been met with open arms. Granted, I don't know if that's because I'm old or I don't know if it's just like a respectful thing, but since I've been doing this thing, I never truly had the opportunity to grow in the drill world. Realistically, in high school, if you weren't local to the state of Texas, I was a nobody. You know, I have no name behind me like Jackson Blade Rainwater, right? What a badass middle name. But regardless, ever since I started doing this thing, I've only been met with open arms. And that's something that's really hit me on this episode specifically with number 9. So let me begin here. Community gives you a place to belong. Every one of us starts somewhere. None of us become who we are alone. Someone eventually had taught us our first facing movement, our first toss, whatever it is, and they gave us the confidence to step onto that path. Before you were a team, you were a community. It's the people that grow around you is what will understand the things that you're facing together. There's been plenty of times when I only feel comfortable talking to certain people. There are things that maybe I don't feel comfortable with talking about with my wife. Maybe I'll talk to my best friend. Or maybe there's some things I have an issue with my best friend, I'll talk to my wife, vice versa, whichever. But it's the community around you. It's the people that are with you that you start building this relationship and it turns into something bigger. And that's something that I've definitely starting to notice the more and more I've been doing this. And I'll be very transparent. I think my upbringing in drill, and I'm specifically talking in high school, I don't think it was quite I don't want to say it was the right mindset, because it wasn't. Because competing in high school, you're taught to how to be competitive. I don't think it's so much the competitive aspect that made me view it wrong, but I think it was the traits that I didn't understand at the time and how to properly use that made me think of it this way, that competition builds rivals, obviously, right? Sometimes naturally you're kind of edged to kind of point in a direction where maybe you got the local high school that's 5 minutes down the road and you're like, you know what? We don't like it. But it's the people around you, it's the community that builds respect. There has been multiple kids that are minutes from the high school where I coach at. And for example, I went to go drill for a little bit with the Lone Guard this last week, and I met a bunch of kids from a bunch of different schools, and these kids were just welcome open arms, right? I met some different coaches. I got to meet them, and I got to rekindle with a couple friends I haven't seen in a while. Nate, where you at, man? I miss you, man. But I just being able to talk with these guys, and it really opened my eyes to, you know what? I don't think I quite understood what I had back in the day. The person that's standing across from you isn't your enemy. At least that's not how you should look at it, right? In the heat of the moment, in the heat of battle, sure. When you're at a competition floor, of course, you lock in, you're back in that competition mindset. But just because they're standing on the other side does not necessarily mean that they are your foe, they are your enemy, that you should treat them any different. They are the ones that are pushing you to become somebody that you couldn't become by yourself, right? I hope that makes sense. That if you didn't have somebody else that was opposing you, I don't think they would truly show you who your true colors are, or who the potential is that you have of who or what you could become. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to fight for that second place and you're competing and you're constantly competing for that first, it's that other team that's on the other side that's really going to show you what you're made of. What are they doing that maybe you're not? It really opens your eyes. Today's opponent can become tomorrow's teammate. They can become tomorrow's coach. They can be lifelong friends. You don't know that. And you should not stop yourself from holding yourself back and having a beautiful thing and to building your community stronger. That's what I want here. When you get promoted in the Marine Corps, you get promoted to corporal. Just moments ago, you're a junior enlisted, and you have no saying, you have no rights. Don't even look at the NCOs the wrong way. And then you become a corporal. You get the blood stripe. You're now a non-commissioned officer. You have the right to hold the sword. You get to be able to command a little bit more. You get a little bit more respect. Your chest puffed out a little bit more, everything else. When I got promoted to corporal, it was a hard lesson to learn because you come from a community. In the Marine Corps, they call it the Lance Corporal Underground. If you know, you know. But they call it the Lance Corporal Underground, and you're a part of this group where it's like, everybody kind of fends for themselves. And now you're promoted to E4, and now you're kind of out of the group. And not to say that you lose the friendships because you're promoted, but when you're at work, it's business. There's no hard feelings. Now that I'm in a leadership position, I'm here to not just take care of myself, but I'm here to take care of you too. And sometimes that's a hard line to draw in between, and that's kind of how I look at it here. The opponent that you stand across from is not necessarily your enemy. Honestly, I would argue that they may be, other than failure, I think that they may be one of your greatest teachers. Community creates legacy. Programs come and go, champions rise and fall, but a healthy community will outlive every individual. I want you to think of how many JROTC programs that you look up through YouTube and they just don't exist anymore. A hard one was John Jay, the Silver Eagles. Man, you look those guys, people still look at their stuff today and think, wow, like that is next level. Those guys would be untouchable in today's world and blah, 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 right? Like you think of a program like that. You think of early MacArthur, the Blue Guard. These guys were just dominant back then. The Blue Guard was one of the teams that I used to Sotomayor to get them to understand what intensity, sharp, and precision looks like. And I'm not trying to throw these programs under the bus or anything, but where are they at now, right? Where's the Silver Eagles? Where's the Blue Guard? They don't compete anymore. For whatever reason that may be, unfortunately, they're not around. But what is still standing? What is still standing? You still have the drill team dynamics. You have competitive outcomes. You have the SNI. You have the SNI drill camp. You have your programs that have survived a lot longer than some of these schools that continue to build and continue to do outreach. That's what's important. A community will last a lot longer than a trophy will. The community around you is the thing that will create your legacy. Do not get it confused that just because you earned something, just because you won a title, doesn't mean that I'll be infamous forever. I'll be put up on the walls and nobody will ever forget about me. That's not the case. That is not the case, people. It's more than just a trophy. It's what are you actually installing that you are leaving behind. And a healthy community outlives every individual. The people who leave the greatest impact aren't always the ones with the most medals or trophies. They're the ones who invest in others. And I don't think that can be any more relevant to why the man is not just someone who does his 8 to 5 and go home. He invests in his community, he invests in his cadets, and he reaps the reward from every single aspect. Master Sergeant Ybarra is a man who doesn't tolerate the little, and he always shoots for the stars. Master Sergeant Ybarra has been behind the scenes for many, many years before he became an instructor, doing the Texas drill competitions, doing the Drill Warrior University. I know those things have been programs forever. And way before he became an instructor, he was still giving to the drill community, to SNI, the summer camp that the SNI holds. Whatever the case may be, he is not somebody who just does the bare minimum. An instructor who does more for his cadets and his community than most people would want to do ever. Because you got to think about it. These guys sacrifice their time with their family. They sacrifice time for their country already for over 20 plus years. He is a retired master sergeant in the Air Force, and he decided to get out and give back to his community. He decided to give back to the community of Texas and to the community of San Antonio, and now he's doing it every day with his kids out at Taft High School. If there is a definition of what an example of camaraderie, community, and family look like, go to the 882nd down at Taft High School. They'll give it to you there. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me such a great honor, and it gives me with thrill and excitement to introduce our very first instructor ever onto the drill pad. Master Sergeant Herman Ybarra, United States Air Force retired. He is the Aerospace Science Instructor of Texas 882nd at Taft High School. He is the trainer of the Sky Raiders drill team. He is the commandant of the Drill Warrior University, director of Texas Drill Competition, instructor cadre at the Nationals Drill Camp, and he is also the competition qualification coordinator for the World Drill Competition. Everybody, once again, I hope everybody is jazzed as much as I was. Master Sergeant Herman Ybarra. Master Sergeant, if you don't mind letting everybody know a little bit more about yourself, because drill isn't just an occupation. So let myself and the world know a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Hello, my name is Herman Ybarra, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force retired. I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas, but I've been living here in San Antonio for almost 30 years. I went to high school at 4H Moody High School in Corpus Christi, Texas. I attended the Community College of the Air Force and finished my bachelor's and master's degree at the University of Phoenix here in San Antonio. Again, I served 24 years in the United States Air Force, and some of my top accomplishments, at least in my book, have nothing to do with drill. It has to be more of becoming a good father, grandfather, and mentor. And fun fact about myself is I play the accordion. I love Tejano, Norteño, and conjunto music.
That's awesome. And Master Sergeant Ybarra, I want to be able to tell you, because for myself, I am so excited to have you here. And I know your major accomplishments aren't just in drill, but you have such a widespread in drill. And before I start dipping into some of the questions that I have for you, the question I kind of want to kick this thing off is where does that passion come from? Where did that kind of begin? Because for someone to be so highly involved in drill like yourself, there had to have been a spark from somewhere. Take me through the beginning of that journey.
Well, now being a teacher or an instructor at Northside, technically I would be considered an at-risk youth. And the passion came from just becoming part of something that was bigger than me. And it changed my life, to tell you the truth. It taught me a lot of the intangibles that you don't get, that you do get from drill. And the spark came from, I learned a long time ago, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. The spark came, it was just a day that I went to the high school to pick up my brother. He was 2 grades above me. And I saw the Trojan Guard training, and I just told myself the spark came from, I want to do that. And then it became more of becoming part of something that was bigger than me. And from the learning process to becoming a trainer to making a difference within an environment that or an organization that is bigger than you, I just got that passion. I did drill in the JROTC level, the ceremonial or honor guard level, and then now as an instructor, I still drill. And again, just to answer, the spark came from passion, for really, really loving the program, the organizations, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the familyhood. The spark came from just walking into that practice and just seeing my brother training, and it just spread like wildfire.
That is so great. And I'm really excited to really talk to you specifically, because it's not often you get to see a JROTC student turned service member honor guard and bleed over into now instructor. Because that's kind of like, I know that there are a lot of students out there that's the goal, that's their dream. They do this thing, and like you mentioned, it's a love, it's a passion, family, and they want to do that exact same thing. So you're living a lot of these kids' lives. So I'm super excited and thrilled to have you on here and to start diving into this journey. And I'll start kicking off with the first question I got here. So kind of like you touched based on, you were once a JROTC cadet, served Air Force Honor Guard, now JROTC instructor. And looking back on how has each chapter shaped you to be that instructor you've become today? Because like I said, you're living a lot of these kids' goals, these dreams, and it's not just anywhere either. Let me say, you are an instructor in San Antonio, Texas, arguably one of the most competitive cities for JROTC, and not just JROTC, but the drill world as well. So break it down for me. How has each chapter shaped you to become the instructor you are today?
Well, like I said, when I was a cadet at Moody, I was on that cadet side. Now being an instructor, first of all, let me just give you this disclaimer to everybody out there. If you know me, you know who I am. Without being disrespectful, I speak from the heart. I'm very blunt, but respectful. I'm not disrespectful. I use tact, but that's something that me and my cadets have, because I said, look, I used to be a cadet. I used to be a knucklehead. I used to do drugs. I used to run with a rough crowd. And like I said, I was an at-risk youth. So there's no BS that you can throw at me that I haven't thrown at somebody before. And once you become, you form a relationship with a cadet that, they're not going to pull any wool over your eyes, but they know that I genuinely care about them. And I say that because I was a cadet. I'm the instructor. That gave me not the know-how, but at least a sense of how to comport myself with a cadet so that they can generally know that I care about them, but I'm there to train them. And moving on as a ceremonial guardsman, all the stuff that I learned in JROTC helped me become a trainer at a very, very low, young rank as a junior airman. And I worked myself up from trainer to element leader to flight leader to team trainer to NCOIC, all the way up to superintendent of, because I did honor guard at all levels. And one of my biggest, I guess, thrills or something that I hold dearly is being the superintendent of the Lackland Air Force Base Honor Guard. And there I was able to run a team of 250 airmen and experience all that experience that I got. I learned from my airmen. I learned from my flight commanders or flight sergeants, I should say. All that experience just helped me become the instructor I am today. Either you love me or you just don't understand how I connect with other cadets the way that other instructors don't, because I speak to cadets every day. They send me messages through Drill Warrior or at a Texas drill competition events, and they sit down with me and they ask me, I'm not going to disrespect any fellow instructors, but I just let them know what I do. And all that experience that I got as a cadet, as a guardsman, and now an instructor, I'm still learning. I've only been an instructor about 8 years. I have a lot of mentors in the drill community, and all that put together has helped me become the instructor I am today.
And and coming from a rough beginning, right? Coming from a rough beginning, coming into the program, what's typically that first message that you would let those particular students know? The ones that that maybe they don't have the same family structure at home. Maybe they kind of come from a broken family. Would you say maybe you take a particular interest in them because you came from a rough background as well?
I would say yes, but the first thing that I tell them is, look, don't play favorites, and you will get out of this program what you put into it. Okay. And when I introduce myself at the beginning of the school year, I have a slideshow. I let them know where I'm from, my hobbies, basically everything that I'm going to tell you today, so that they know who I am, and I tell them about my past. And I can honestly say that I show a little bit of vulnerability. And when they see that, they say, hey, this guy's, he's not trying to BS us. And I established that, or tried to establish that relationship right off the bat.
Right. Yeah. I'm no instructor, Master Harmon. I coach at Sotomayor, and I tell them all the time. And I have my stepson he's now a senior, and I tell them all. I'll ask my son. I was like, hey, do I like you? He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I don't. And I was like, I don't like you all equally.
Yeah. And I'm very blunt with them. I'll be honest. I'm a very observant person. That's helped me get to where I am today. And I see the relationships that a regular teacher has with our cadets. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just way different than the relationship I have with them as a cadet and instructor.
No, of course. And I'm glad you said that, because that leads me over to my next thing. So as an instructor, what do you believe is the most important lesson JROTC teaches that student that they won't find in their traditional classroom? Because having you on here and some of the other instructors that I hope that may be tuning in and listening, I want them to be able to see, maybe they're having those kind of struggles in the classroom to where maybe they can't connect to their cadets. So what do you think that a JROTC instructor offers that they won't find in a typical classroom?
To me, it's the intangibles, like interpersonal skills. Now, if you're on the debate team, you sort of get that, but you're not going to get accountability. You're not going to get responsibility. You're not going to get servant leadership. You're not going to get all the intangibles like what you're going to get from a math class, a science class, or a history class. In JROTC, you're going to get tons of intangibles. I tell them, hey, my job is to give you tools. You have a personal tool bag, sit right next to you. I'm going to offer all these tools to you. You take the ones that are going to make you a better person after you leave JROTC. Because remember, JROTC is not a recruitment tool. It's a citizenship program. And we're not there to recruit. Now, if my cadets want to recruit, join the military, we help make sure that recruiters are on the up and up and we get them the specialties that they want to work in. But to answer your question, it's all the intangibles. They get to pick all the tools and put them in their personal tool bag that they can use either in the military or later in life after they leave high school.
Making better citizens of character, right?
Yes.
And I am full on board. And I think that's so important because you're doing something bigger than just yourself. Like of course, you're not going to be doing anything for the community in a math class or in a science class. And I was a JROTC student as well. And that's exactly what I got out of it, is that it's something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
And so I want to touch on your Air Force career a little bit. How has your Air Force Honor Guard experience influenced the standards, discipline, and expectations that you set on your cadets each and every day?
Okay, right off the bat, my Air Force career, by trade, I was an engineer, and Honor Guard is a special duty. And part of the Honor Guard creed is that we represent every member, past and present, of the United States Air Force. So at times, we might have done a 15-minute military honors ceremony, a funeral. And that might be the only time that family, depends on what part of the country they're from, will see an airman in uniform, let alone at a burial of a loved one. So that part of the creed is representing every member, past and present. Our professionalism is above reproach. You follow me? So to answer your question, I tell them, hey, the way you train, the way you perform, the way you do everything needs to be on point. Everything that you're going to do, all the things that you're going to earn, they're never going to be given. You're always going to earn what you get. And that high level of standards and expectations that a ceremonial guardsman is expected, that's what I try to convey to our cadets every day. Consistency is hard. Sometimes you're going to be in full ceremonials, and especially here in San Antonio, it gets over 100 degrees.
Easy.
You have to be motionless. That's the kind of approach I have with them, because when you perform, everything that you do beforehand is going to show at that moment, at that time, and you have to be on point. That's the kind of approach I have with their performance level.
Yeah. And I tell the cadets that I coach that some of them, like you mentioned, you're being a part of something that represents past, present, and a future. And some of these kids have their parents that were prior service. And some of these kids, they talk about wanting to go into the service, or, maybe they're not as interested in going in, but I'll tell them, when you put that uniform on, I don't want you to think of, oh, well, I gotta put this thing on. I gotta look ridiculous one day on a Wednesday or whatever, but you should be thinking about your parents in that thing. That was the thing that they were wearing every single day for 4 years, 8 years, or 20 years. That was their t-shirt and shorts that they wear every single day of their military career. And you're not just honoring them, you're honoring all of those that came before and that are going to be going after you. And it just serves a higher purpose. And to be able to instill those things on your cadets, I mean, I think that's super important. I think that's a great lesson that you're teaching to your students.
Absolutely. I tell them, hey, you got to train the way you fight. You got to train the way you fight, meaning the way you're going to perform is the way you need to train. Don't be, horse playing and stuff. I mean, my standards are high. You can ask any of my cadets or even cadets that I've trained at the Nationals drill camp. I'm one of the biggest jokers around. Anyone that knows me, they know that I'm a joker. But once I step on that drill pad, I become a different animal. And you have to train the way you're going to fight. You have to practice the way you're going to perform every single time.
Gospel. Yes. Every time. I wholeheartedly agree. And I'm glad you brought up the Nationals camp. And so we talked a little bit last week when I finally got to meet you, but you even judged on the national level.
Yes, sir.
And I want to know, what's something instructors often overlook when preparing their teams that judges immediately notice? Because I know in the heat of battle, in the heat of the Nationals pads, and in the stadium and the Oceanside Center, there's everything going on. We're not in the element. We're not in our hometowns. The instructors are going through the chaos of just making sure that, hey, you got your thing on, you got your uniform on right, and so on and so forth. So and being that judge on that platform, and now being an instructor, like I said, what's something instructors often overlook when they're preparing their teams?
I would say, well, first of all, shout out to Sports Network International for giving me the opportunity to judge at the national and world level. And I would have to say that one of the not biggest things that instructors, for the most part, forget is they go through procedural type training, but they don't teach them how to comport themselves in public. They don't teach them how to comport themselves in the staging area. They prepare them for procedural performance, but like, let's say for an armed drill team, their rifles are just as important as the cadet. The appearance of the rifle is just as important as the appearance of the cadet. Also, when I look at a team, I want to look at a team, at least as a judge, I want to see a team that I can't tell if they're cadets or active duty personnel because of the way they're wearing their uniform. Of course, the height might be one thing, or their faces are going to be super young looking. But when I'm talking about aesthetically, their uniforms, when I see a lot of teams, they look like a JROTC flight or platoon. I like to see flights and platoons that look like active duty soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, guardians, whatever. That's one thing, is appearance. Being a ceremonial guardsman, there's a certain way that I prepare my shoes. There's a certain way that I steam and protectively iron my uniforms, how to disassemble the service coat so that it's paper thin. There's just so many tricks of the trade. So a lot of times instructors prepare, hey, we have an exhibition routine. Hey, they're doing regulation drill pretty good. And hey, they know how to go in and out of that inspection room. But when you see them, that's where a big downfall is. And the way they comport themselves, yes, they're adolescents, but they got to know, hey, once you are inside that Ocean Center or the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, what have you, wherever you are, if you're in uniform, you're locked in. But procedural, it just, it depends how much time that instructor's putting in. But I would just say the biggest thing with me was appearance.
And I spoke with Erica Jimenez the other week, and she said her and I agreed on it. The exact same thing is the moment we go anywhere, once we get on that bus from your home school and the bus now drives onto the school, the bus now drives on to the Ocean Center where we get to drop off. Hey, shut your mouths, lock in, lock tight. Let's get this thing going. Hey, don't embarrass us. And at the end of the day, the cadets are kids, but you waived that right to be a kid the moment you decided to be in the drill team. And you are now expected to perform at that level. Like you said, you should be just as locked in as a service member that would be wearing that uniform. It blows my mind because you'll go to some schools at some comps, and man, you got these kids running around. They're hooting and hollering and everything. I was like, let me be judging. Let me have seen that. Let me be judging you, and let me remember your face. I will specifically remember you and your team for the little moment we shared. Just a second.
Yeah. As a judge, I mean, we're human beings. We are human beings. Most of the judging is subjective. What you might see as a 7 in regulation, I might see a 5 or vice versa. Mm-hmm. But at the nationals, when I stayed across the street, the Hilton, a lot of the kids don't know, or a lot of the cadets don't know that there's judges everywhere and you're being judged all the time.
Yep.
Like it or not. Again, those judges are human beings. Judging is subjective, especially in exhibition, but even in every single category, it's subjective, and you're always being evaluated. When you're getting off, marching back and forth, if you're talking, you're doing last minute preparations, when you're right there by the cones while I'm finishing off my last score sheet, you're telling each other, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. You should be at ceremony at ease or parade rest, waiting for the judge to come up, pop to attention, sign the clipboard, and let's go. I mean, you're always being evaluated. And that's one thing that needs to be, paid attention to more than it does.
Yep. You're always being looked at. Like, you pretend like you are on TV and you are being looked at all the time. I had a curious question, and I wanted to know what separates a program that will compete at a high level from those that may be struggling to take the next step. Because like San Antonio, for example, right? We all know Brandeis, Reagan, these schools that are always competing at a high level. But what would you say to those instructors that are trying to get to that next step? What what do you think that program needs to do to get their program, their drill team, or just maybe even more parent involvement out of their program? What do you think that those instructors would need to make sure that their JROTC unit is seeing that level of success?
What, in my opinion, what separates one program from the other, and goes out to the instructors, is that the thread. I heard this on a video a long time ago. The thread that holds the fabric of a unit and a special team, that thread is not made out of cotton, it's made out of steel. The instructor is what holds the consistency. Now, 1 year might be grades, 1 year could be being disbanded for hazing, it could be recruiting, it could be numbers, it could be COVID, every team out there, every program gets hit differently every year. It'd be issues with the instructors and the parents. Some programs that have cadets that haven't been, I should say, trained as effective and efficiently as they could be. They get a new instructor, they start crying to mommy and daddy. Everybody gets hit different ways across the board, but the ones that stay consistent, it's because of the instructors, not coaches. Coaches are hired hands, are hired guns. What have former cadets like yourself. The program itself, it's held together and stays consistent through the instructors. So if you're not willing to put the time and the hours in, your program isn't going to be as good as it can be. Plain and simple. It's the instructor.
It comes with a lot of sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And there was an instructor that I met at Clark. This was, God, I don't know how many years ago this was, but he was kind of just the intermittent. He was kind of like, you know what, I'm just here for the meantime. And that's my alma mater. Clark, back in the day, the Sea Guard, they were unstoppable. I strongly feel that too, that the instructors can definitely make or break a program. And how would you say that an instructor is doing enough? I'm sure everybody has their own definition of, I'm doing enough. What do you do that maybe other instructors aren't doing?
I started at Taft. I volunteered the 2018 school year, and they had an established team, and they wanted to do something different. So I knew where all these competitions were. They have a nationals in Daytona, which I've worked and attended. The Air Force Academy holds the National Invitational, and then down out on the West Coast, there's Golden Bear that I've heard about, but that's not here or there. But you have to set goals. Like, for instance, I had an established program when I volunteered, but then after the winter break, that instructor decided to retire and I got picked up. And you have to set goals. So we had an established program at the time. They said, hey, let's go to the Air Force Academy. And we went over there, did very well. We won the championship. You're going to find out real quick about me. I don't like talking about myself that much, but I'll talk about the program all day. Set goals. And to answer, leading up to what you asked, is that when an instructor says, am I doing enough? You're the one that set the goal. Has the goal been met? And am I doing enough? Well, by then you should be a seasoned senior NCO. You should know the goal that you set. And if you're at least in the realm of meeting it, well, yes, you're doing enough. It's your goal. If you're not even getting close to even being able to garner your goal, no, you're not doing enough. So most of the time, a human being will look outward. Sometimes we need to look inward and say, hey, am I doing enough? And if you want to have a successful program, are you willing to put in the time? And if you do have a successful program, you are doing enough. You are putting enough time. You are making enough sacrifices. But you know what? At a certain point, instructors are human beings as well, and they need time with their families.
Of course.
They've already sacrificed hundreds and thousands of hours away from their families defending our country. Now they're instructors. And honestly, I work more hours now than I did when I was active duty. Unless I was deployed to a AOR, day by day, reporting to Lackland, to Vandenberg, whatever bases I was stationed at, I worked more hours as an instructor than I did as a senior NCO in the Air Force, unless I was deployed.
I remember the hours and the sacrifices and just the amount of time and effort that my JROTC instructors were at Clark at the time. And it's almost like they were never home. It seemed like might as well have moved into their offices and they were there.
Yeah. I want to also reiterate that if an instructor is putting in the time, like even an hour and a half before school or an hour and a half after school, whatever their set training sessions are, I don't call them practice. I call it training. It's like if they set hours and they're meeting, they're there, they're putting in the time, and the team isn't as successful, that's when they need to be well versed in regulation drill, in open ranks procedures. Exhibition is the hardest one. And yeah, you can bring in what I call the hired guns to help train. But if you are putting in the time and you're not being successful, you put all the resources in front of them, it could be an interpersonal conflict within the flight or the drill team. It can be grades. I mean, there's so many things that could hinder a program. But the ones that have everything in line and doing okay, that's why you recruit and get extra cadets. In case somebody fails, somebody gets in trouble. These, how some kids are these days, they get in trouble. You have somebody to back up, have a backup. But the main ingredient is that time. Is that are you setting your goals, and are you putting in the time to at least be able to get near those goals? You got to ask yourself those questions as an instructor, and it's a lot to ask. And I hope I'm not ruffling feathers out there, but I mean, my mentors are a lot of instructors that come from very successful programs, and we're all in agreement.
Yeah, 100%. How would you combat, you have variables everywhere, whether grades or, maybe you got those couple knuckleheads out there that, they think they're above the law of school.
Yeah, fights, drugs, getting somebody pregnant or getting pregnant. I mean, the number, it's just on and on and on.
Yes. How would you combat motivation? So like if let's say you started out strong, you met your numbers for your teams, but maybe that motivation for that team kind of starts to dwindle. How would you combat that as an instructor?
Okay, as we said, where I mentioned before, a little bit about the way I grew up. We weren't poor, but we weren't even middle class. We were struggling. My mother worked numerous jobs to get us through. My brother joined the Navy. I joined the Air Force. My younger brother joined the Marine Corps for a time. My sister, my oldest sibling, she worked at the Corpus Christi Army Depot. My mom had a lot to do with how we turned out. The thing is, I didn't come from much, and God has blessed me with a pension, a good job, and 2 little side gigs that give me a little bit of monetary favor at times. And to me, money is not an important thing in life. I mean, it's a blessing, but at least this is what I did for motivation. And my motto is never given, always earned. If the teams, special teams, not just drill, but special teams do well, I'm well connected around the city where I have contacts within the Missions, the Spurs, the old Scorpions or San Antonio FC, the Houston Rockets, the Cowboys, and I find them those gigs. And when you hear those gigs pop up, all the cadets want to go. I said, no, you haven't earned it. You haven't earned it. You have. I'll put your names in the pot to pull out names. It's not like, whoever raises their hands first, it's who's earned the right for that spot. That's one thing I use for motivation. Maybe you should interview one of my former cadets. I don't know how to train cadets. Now, the only way I know how to train is to train active duty airmen. The way I train people in the Army Guard. Here's the thing. I know that they're adolescents. I know that they're going to make mistakes. Some mistakes that if you make in the military, you're done. But you got to know that these kids, it's not a one and done type thing. And you give them opportunities. And the only way I know how to train them is like I did my active duty airmen. And I'm easy to please. I am not. You can ask people in Drill Warrior University names like Matt Wendling, like Alejandro Paulino, Trey Davidson, Abraham Robbins. The list goes on and on. The Wren brothers, they all know me. We are associated with one another through Drill Warrior University. They know what kind of man I am. I am not easy to please. I have high standards and expectations when it comes to JROTC and drill. But if you meet all the standards and expectations, I spoil you. You can ask any of my cadets. The rifles that we have, the equipment that we get, the gear that we have, the clothing that we get. But if they don't earn it, they don't get anything. So it's the gigs, and you have to reward good performance, consistent performance. And that's what I use for motivation. And when other cadets, at least from the cadet world at the Texas A82nd, they see that, they go, I want to be part of that. Because after COVID, we got slammed in the head so hard that we only competed in the color guard world. I had very good color guards. They podiumed at the Nationals. But this was the first year that we've had a drill team in almost 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. And the standards and expectations do not budge. I'd rather have quality than quantity any day. I'd rather have a good performance drill team than a competitive drill team, because the standards in that organization are high. And if somebody wants to be a part of it, they have to meet every single one.
Right. High standards equals high reward. And
Absolutely.
it's funny that you have your reward system at Sotomayor. I don't want to speak for the instructors. I don't want to speak for the cadets, but it seems like sometimes there's a struggle for cadets to want to get involved with the program, whether to try out for a club or to do a special event. And it seems like the drill teams are the ones that are kind of more consistent. And so we went to nationals this first time, and all these cadets that are across the program, the drill teams got the duffel bags, they got their names on them, they got the swagger, they got the jackets and the sweat tops and the sweat bottoms, and all these kids are like, oh my, like what, like how do I get that, and blah blah blah, and all the kids are like, you gotta join the drill team. So now we have all these other kids that are now seeing these other cadets reaping the reward. Now they're like, oh, I want to do that. I think that is a successful way of getting some motivation, because now we got kids turning heads. So, something's working. And obviously it's working over there too.
It's like a double-edged sword, because, I know that your organization is the drill pad, but, we have a drill pad that regular cadets drill on as well. And if they want to go to Newcomb's Ranch, they want to go to the USS Lexington, they want to go to Washington, D.C. for our annual senior trip, all that stuff, they got to pass their classes. They got to be passing my class. They got to be able to do a certain amount of community service hours. You follow me? That type of motivation it's not just for our drill teams at Taft. It's also for the whole entire Corps.
Right.
So, and at the same time, honestly, I'm going to be straightforward. If you go to my old high school in Corpus Christi and you use, they're only $7 pair of shorts on Amazon, a $7 a dry fit t-shirt, and a $4.50, maybe $5 ball cap that are red and white instead of red and gray like the regular PT clothes. Like as a Sky Raider, in the Sky Raider program, you enter as a trainee. You have to go through initial evaluation, which is an inspection through me, and I go at them like they do at nationals. They got to name every single part of their rifle. They got to be able to march. So basically when we go out to train, I don't have to stop. Hey, go show Junior how to do it to the rear. So they go from trainee to rookie, and then they get rid of the gray and red PT clothing, and we call it the reds and whites: red shorts, red hat, white shirt, plain white shirt. Once they compete 3 times, they become a veteran. They get Sky Raider written across their shoulder. Their chest. At any time after that, they have to execute the 10. That is the 10 most hardest maneuvers or sequences that we do in our exhibition routine. Then they become a full-fledged Sky Raider. So it takes cadets in our program, our drill program, sometimes up to 3. It's like the Sea Guard. To be a Centurion Guard, can you imagine taking up to 3 years to be called a Centurion Guard instead of a trainee, a rookie, or a veteran?
Man, yeah, no, that's
what I do. That's what the Air Force Honor Guard drill team does. There's segments, and yeah, I've had seniors graduate, compete 15 times, not a Sky Raider.
Dang.
And it's like you can have 2 minor mistakes and 1 major, you're done. Try again next session. I would do it like every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And I would put it live on Facebook and invite their family, because it's easier to perform in front of a stranger than it is in front of your family. Put a pressure cooker on. Make them earn it. That's the kind of standards. And at the same time, it's bitten me in the butt because people don't want to go through that. But I'll tell you, I'd rather have quality than quantity.
High stakes, high reward.
Yes, sir.
I was in the Marine Corps, and it's high standards, high rewards. You go through the tests and the trials, and you go through all the same feats just to be able to be at the end being called a Marine.
Absolutely.
And you earn your Eagle Globe and
title, right? It's a title.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my kids. I'm like, I was like, out of the entire Corps, there's 130 kids. You represent a small percent of that, and you get to call yourselves a knight. I was like, nobody else gets to call themselves that. It's how special you make that for them and how hard they're willing to work for it that will make them feel like they've done something out of this world. I think that is awesome how you have that set up, because now the kids that do earn that, they're earning something that not everybody else gets to call themselves.
Absolutely. That's why we do it.
Hell yeah, brother. So, and I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit when we were talking about motivation, because motivation comes in different levels. And how are you able to get every cadet under your program, from your strongest competitor to maybe your brand newest freshman, to buy into your mission? What is that recruiting pitch for the parents or the cadets that are interested in coming to ROTC, that where you tell them to where they're like, oh man, you know what? I want to do that. Or how are you able to get that senior or that junior that maybe now they're kind of starting to step away from JROTC. Maybe they want to focus more on a job, or maybe they don't want to have as much of a focus on JROTC. But how are you able to get those people to fall under that same motivation? What does that pitch look like?
I want to give a shout out to Air University, because a lot of the things that I learned as at Emory Leadership School, the NCO Academy and the Senior NCO Academy. Empowerment. I tell them, look, I'm going to give you the resources. I'm going to give you some training. And by the time you're a junior or senior, you should grow beyond my control, and you're going to be the trainers. I just oversee the practice in case they're missing this or that. But it's empowerment, because they buy into it, they take ownership, and they run with it, and they come up with their new ideas. I know of programs out there that the cadets on the special teams are like puppets. No disrespect to a lot of my friends that do this for a living, but it's like, hey, this is the way we're going to train you, and this is the way everything's going to do. They don't have no say, so they're like puppets. They're like trained puppets. But if, let's say, the instructor retires, passes away, transfers, and the next instructor that comes in is not like the former instructor, the team, as you know, around the city, fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I use empowerment. This is your team. This is your armory. The only thing that I do for them is paint, because I don't want them to make a mess. But putting them together, taking them apart, putting them back together. This past year I did it because it was a brand new team, but I empower. We have logistics people. We have, you give everybody a piece of the pie. They take ownership and they fly, man. They fly. Now the seniors, I've never done it, but I've had parents out there say, my son, gets out of hand. You have permission to whoop his butt. That's not the language. That's not the language that they use. Of course, I'm not going to lose my job. Right. But you form that relationship, and rank does have its privileges. Not that much, but the way I guess motivate my freshmen is, hey, if you show me you're more mechanically inclined than an armorer, I don't care if they're a junior, I don't care if they're a cadet captain and you're a cadet senior airman or airman first class, you got the job. Everyone, is expendable. We're gonna put the right person at the right job. I don't care if you're a sophomore, you have a really good command voice. You're not going to train the team, but you're going to call commands at the competition. You follow me? Everyone is motivated differently. Some you have to coach, some you have to direct, some of them you just have to cheerlead, just stand back. So you as an instructor and you as a cadet as well, cadet leader, you need to know your personnel. And I can't give you one recipe on how to motivate a cadet, because each and every one of them is different. It's called situational management. And so it's like a juggling act. So I can't tell you one good way of motivating cadets or anyone at work, what have you, at anything you do. It's situational management. You need to know your personnel and motivate them differently.
Right. And I've had that same message to my kids, like, hey, this isn't my team. This is y'all's team. Like, you should be the one running it. You tell me what you want, I'll follow you.
But you were Sea Guard, right? You remember how, back in the day, hired guns would come in and it was like, hey, this is your coach, I think is what they call them. You're not a football coach, you're more of a trainer. But the thing is, whatever they said went, and you never got the opportunity to actually show your leadership capabilities. Instead of building them up and standing back and then just overseeing like a superintendent would. No, the coaches or the instructors, they just say, this is what we're going to do it. No, this is the way you do it. This is the routine we're going to do. And okay, good team. Any of you leave tomorrow, they start training themselves, they fall apart. Or it's beyond the trophy, the intangibles that we talked about. Let's say you get third place 4 years in a row as a cadet, and you didn't learn a thing about leadership or training or whatever, and you go join the workforce. You don't have those intangibles in you because you were a puppet. Right. You remember those days, right?
No, 100%.
And that's give the cadets an opportunity to lead.
Yes.
Just do this, do this, do this, do this, because I said so. I mean, you're not teaching them anything. Because let's say the Sky Raiders won 4 national championships in a row, and I do everything for them. I tell them what to do, and they join the military. Oh, I'm a national champion, and they fail as a Marine or they fail as an airman because they don't have any intangible training. It's beyond that trophy, brother. It's beyond that trophy to me.
Right. I mean, was it really theirs to win in the first place?
Exactly. They got to be able to think on their feet. A smart cadet is a productive cadet.
Yes.
A well-trained cadet is a productive cadet. You got to give them opportunity.
One thing that I get frustrated with, because I'll have some of the boys come up to me and they're like, oh, Mr. Edward, what do you think about this? And I'm like, well, have you thought this through? Have you thought about if this will look good? Does this technique, does this segment look good? Of course it does. I was like, but have you thought this through? And if this is something you really want, have you thought about X, Y, Z? Have you thought about these other variables? Of course, you and your deputy can, but have you thought about the other 8 kids on your team? Can they do that?
Yeah, by all means, some of the cadets that come up and have these crazy ideas have said, all right, let's think this through. And they go, oh, okay. You show them, but that's the way they learn how to curve their way of leading or their ideas. Like, for instance, most teams out there, going back to being a judge, most teams build a routine that they think looks cool. And it came out good, but then they don't win because they built a routine that they think looked cool. They didn't build a routine to that score sheet they're being evaluated on. And then they're like, yeah, cool. You want to do that crazy ass thing? Imagine the Secretary of War or the Chief of Staff of the Air Force is in the audience, and they see that and they think, if my airman did that, my gosh. And then your military flavor and your overall impression drops. And then you lose by 3 points. Why didn't we win? We had better routine. Think about the routine. That's the kind of opportunity I'm talking about. Give the cadets an opportunity, or give your personnel the opportunity in life. Give them empowerment. Let them get ownership. Take ownership. And you curve their decision-making through experience of failure, and then failure after failure, you learn. Failure is just an opportunity to learn, and they become, you start developing them as leaders and trainers that are going to grow beyond your control.
Exactly. Since we were speaking on the drill side, right? What does an effective practice look like to you? Like, how can you balance repetition, accountability, and keeping cadets engaged through a season? Because drill is not your typical sport. We have football, the NFL, we have 18 games in an NFL season, but for drill, it's all year.
Absolutely.
It starts from August until May, and even then it bleeds even into the summer, because you have some programs like Flower Bluff who, as soon as the school year ends, they'll get that first month off and then they kick right back up and they get the gears going again. So for you, what does that productive drill practice look like?
If, at least for the drill team, everybody knows if you're in an armed drill team, you need upper body strength, period. Male cadet, female cadet, doesn't matter. So to me, it's time. Time management is very, very important. The first semester, we train an hour and a half to 2 hours in the afternoon. And when second semester starts and we're, going in for the finish line, we train an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon. So time is of the essence. We could be training regulation drill. I'll set a timer for 20 minutes. Once it goes down, I call the team to attention, ground arms, and we have cones at both corners. We're very blessed to have a big, big drill pad at Taft. I don't know if you've ever seen it. We call it Sky Raider Hill. It's up on a hill. It's about 5 to 10 feet above where the school is. So we call it the hill. And when that alarm goes down, bam, they run around that. As we know, when we back up, we do not punish cadets with push-ups or physical activity, but they're conditioning themselves to become better drillers. So they run 2 laps, take 60 seconds to drink water, fall back in, and keep going, because to become a champion in my book, you have to be almost physically defeated and still be able to perform. So they're tired. So the actual training session is a workout session. We do not walk anywhere. We march. And if we're not marching, we're jogging, not running, but double timing. So it's a mixture of physical activity, cardio activity, and drill. So it's when and I set an alarm every 15 to 20 minutes, especially in this San Antonio heat, Texas heat. You got to hydrate. You have 60 seconds to run to your jugs, and they have jugs that I'll send you pictures. They get all kinds of gear, man. They get 2 lockers. They get igloo jugs that are red and white. Everything we wear is red and white. They're in their reds and whites. They run to their jugs. They down as much water, and in 60 seconds, forward march. Let's go. So that whole hour and a half, it's time management and mixing physical and cardio activity with actual drill training. And again, I am one of the biggest jokesters. I do treat my regular cadets a different way. I treat them like an instructor, a teacher. To me, I think if the mind is at ease, if you have all that hardcore discipline in the classroom, their brains are going to shut down. They're not going to learn anything you teach them. But once we get on that drill pad, I become a different animal, and it's on. I don't joke around. You are going to train for an hour and a half straight with about maybe 4 to 5 water breaks if you want them to hydrate. That's the way my practices go. My training sessions go.
Yeah, no, that sounds too familiar because the last time when the Sotomayor went to Taft, we got to go on the hill for the color guard where you had those pads drawn out, and I was telling Master Recruiter, I was like, damn, we need something like this.
Yeah, well, that goes with being one of the oldest JROTC units in the state. Back it stood up in 85. It was Army, and then it switched to Air Force in 88. So back then, they were spoiling the schools with big old drill pads like that, and then they started building other ones, and some of them don't even have drill pads.
No, Soto doesn't. Soto does not, and it's crazy because I think of your drill pad, I think of Clark's drill pad. Clark has a huge drill pad.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, and I was telling the instructor, I was like, we need to find some money somewhere and lay some concrete because we need to get this thing going. Because when I'm practicing with some of the cadets, we do these things called sets, and it's to help build upper body strength, and they're just doing small exhibition moves, like they're doing like the tic tac, they do port spins, and they all do it together. That way, they all sound in unison. And we'll set a timer. I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this 3 minutes nonstop, and the commander will call, like, port spin, go, and they do that. They're like, tic tac, go, and they do that. And they do continuous 3 spins, go, and they do 1, 2, 3 together, just so that way they can build that upper body strength.
Absolutely.
And we'll do that for maybe 10 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes each time. A small 30-second break in between each segment. That way they're trained, they're conditioned, they're ready. Because I spoke with Matt Windling the first time when I interviewed him, and it's a dance.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a dance. Yeah. This is an 8-minute thing you're going to be doing nonstop. I was like, that's 8 minutes of just drill, spin, and consistent marching step. And sometimes I'd argue, you even forget to breathe sometimes. And
yeah,
you need to be able to be ready, like male, female, regardless. You have to be sure you are at the utmost conditioned ready.
One more thing that I do at training is it's weird how I like the way your questions have been stacked, because it reiterates some of the stuff we've already covered. For instance, at the 82nd, you're giving drill shoes. Remember, we train how we fight. We're not going to train in sneakers. You have to have your jug because 1, safety, 2, it's district policy, and you have to wear your reds and whites. If you forget and black socks. And some of the parents said, sir, why are you so hard on them? I said, for starters, if they show up and they don't have their proper gear, they're not training that day. And I said, and I say this to the parents. If the Raider football team has 2 good quarterbacks and one misses practices here and there or walks out without a helmet, they're not going to train, and nor are they going to start. And it's really hard sometimes because I'd rather teach them life lessons than chase a piece of tin or plastic. So if they don't have drill shoes, they don't train. And if there's a competition, somebody's going to take your spot, because how can I expect you to throw an under exchange or an over exchange on count 24 if you keep forgetting your shoes or your jug? And I'm supposed to trust you to throw an over in front and behind your commander on count 24? No, it's about trust. It's about attention to detail. It's meeting your responsibilities. It's being held accountable. Those intangibles I mentioned earlier. That's the way I run my training too. And sometimes my buddy, senior instructor, shakes his head like, man, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I'm trying to teach him something beyond drill. Yes, this is the platform that we use to excel, but again, it's beyond that trophy to me.
Right. I mean, it's said in the Marine Corps, how can you go to war without your rifle?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's just like you said, you are preparing for battle. You're preparing for your competition, and let the other schools do how they do it. Oh, well, Mr. Edward, I heard MacArthur or I heard Churchill doesn't do practice like that. Well, guess what? When was the last time they won? Not to throw shade at MacArthur or Churchill or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But you are held to a different standard, because if you want to be like them, then you won't see the results that you're getting. It's not about chasing the plastic. These lessons that you learn are far beyond that, and they will go much further than that piece of trophy that will stand on a shelf for years to come.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly with that. And at the end, some of my buddies, some people out there might be, like you said, throwing shade. If it's the truth, it's not throwing shade. It's just learning from your and other people's experiences. That's all it is.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone because I'm not perfect. I know darn well I'm not perfect because I've made my share of mistakes. I've learned from them and I press forward, brother.
Amen, brother. So for a brand new JROTC instructor, if they wanted to seek advice and they wanted to know, hey, what's the secret of building a drill program? We trying to get more involvement. I want to build a program. What would be the three biggest pieces that you would give them into making sure that, hey, look, ABC, if you can't do ABC, then don't even bother. What would you tell them if they were seeking that?
If they're a brand new instructor and they want to start a program, and this is an unshameless plug, I am an instructor cadre member at the Nationals Drill Camp. If you know nothing about anything, go there as an instructor, because it's not just for cadets, and successful instructors go there. And one thing about a lot of people that I consider mentors is, and I do it myself, share the knowledge, number one, because when I was a cadet in the 80s, compared to now, the drill community was, I don't know how many times bigger than it is now and how vibrant it was. There was drill competitions everywhere. And it's not like that anymore. It's still, I love my drill community, but I'll be honest, it's not as strong. That's why I go to the National Drill Camp, to give back, because that program gave so much to me, but to share the information. A successful instructor will share the knowledge. They're not afraid to share the knowledge. So that's one thing. Go to the drill camp as an instructor, and you have active duty people that have been judges for decades. I'm there as, I'm the exception, is I've been a judge and an instructor and a driller. We have Mr. Paul Naki from the old King's Guard, the director of the King's Guard. We have people like Commander Solis, Master Madden. This year we had Master Tijerina from Reagan. We have Andrea Bryant. She's been involved at the Nationals and Worlds and part of the drill community for years. And Miss Samantha St. Clair, they share all the secrets to help one. Also, if you know of an instructor or a program, call them. Call other instructors, because if you're a new instructor, you're thinking like a senior NCO, active duty, and JROTC is a different world. And there's a plethora of experience out there that are willing to share the knowledge. It is, the good ones will share information. Once you establish yourself, start small. Now, if you're the kind of person, I will go to the Nationals and win, go for it. Win your district or get a drill team. Because if it's a new school, new program, new instructor, what have you, you're only going to get a certain amount of cadets on the team, and build yourself a little Gucci crew right there as a recruitment tool, and build your team. Start small. And then if your first goal is just to win district or the state or your region or in your service or the national, just set your goals. But most of all, set quality standards and expectations. And the hardest part, I'm going to tell you, the hardest part is holding your ground and maintaining those standards and expectations. Get it through your head. This is just me. Again, I'm repeating myself. I'd rather have quality than quantity, and it will take care of itself. That's a lot of information, but there's so many places that you can get advice, and the good instructors out there will share their knowledge, because that just makes them work harder to beat you.
You're right. And for those new instructors that do come on, once you come from the active duty military realm and into the JROTC world, you can't treat it the same.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't want to say you can't, it's not night and day, because you definitely have its military flair in there, but how much of I don't know how you'd want to like compare it, whether it's like a 60-40 relationship kind of thing, but how much of your military background should an instructor bring into the classroom, into the JROTC world?
100%. All of it. The thing is, it's how you convey the message. Remember, you're talking to adolescents, not active duty airmen. You're talking to adolescents, teenagers, that if you talk to them a certain way, you're going to lose your job. Talk to them, I mean, like active duty airmen, if they're in the wrong and you get on their backside for doing something wrong, they don't have their mother call you. You follow me? So all that you learned as a senior in SEAL, all of your professional military education, use it. The thing is how you convey the message. That's where you have to tailor your approach, because you're talking to adolescents. Now, that doesn't mean to sugarcoat anything. It's just the words that you use have to be professional. But I would say 100%. Everything that I learned through my professional military education, I use to this day. I use all of it. Every single one. Everything, 100%.
Awesome. And so, I mean, over the years, obviously, you've watched countless cadets graduate, move on, whether, I mean, it's from Taft or even the National Drill Camp. What are some qualities or habits that you see in some of your students or in some of the cadets that you've seen over the years who continue to succeed long after they leave the classroom or the pad? What are some habits that you see in some of your more successful students?
Right off the bat, what comes to mind is, I mentioned it, the intangibles. They've come up to me and said, "Sir, how do you think we're going to do good?" I said, "Sir or son, I know you're going to do your best, but I'm not worried about where you're going to place. I'm more worried about what you're going to do with your life after you leave here. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about a trophy. I'm not worried. We've trained our butts off, or if we're weak in some area, it's because we failed in training." So the more successful cadets, after they ask me those kind of questions, they're the ones that take in accountability, self-discipline, self-motivation, teamwork, followership. All the cadets that bought into that and understood and displayed it. You know, we have Air Force Academy graduates, Naval Academy graduates. We have graduates from West Point. We have officers. We have NCOs that are on a track to surpass me in rank. They're so intelligent. But the thing is, they call me. I know they're successful because I shouldn't say I know they are. I feel that they are, because when they call back and they say, "Thanks, sir," I'm like, "For what?" I'm like, "Just thanks for the drill training." He goes, "No, all the stuff you taught me." Adulting is hard. And I'm using my teacher voice right now, because when you have a certain relationship with a person that used to be a cadet, now they're in the military, and they have that lingo and that potty mouth, they just say adulting is hard. And the lesson that you taught me, the times that I got pissed off at you and taught me a lesson, those lessons are the ones that helped me. So that's when I feel that what I offered them, because I never say, "Hey, I offered you this. Did you take this?" No, they displayed it. And then when they call or email or text me saying, "Thank you," and I always say, "For what?" Because I don't know what the heck they're talking about. They tell me, they tell me stories. And it's the intangibles that JROTC and drill, unarmed or armed, it doesn't matter. All those intangibles that are instilled in you. And it's like, one, it's displayed, but most of all, when they are successful and they call back and say thanks, that's when I feel like, all right, I did my job.
It's awesome. I just had my first senior class that I kind of, from day one with them to when they graduated, we had 7 seniors this last year, and just seeing them grow into the young men and women that they are. Us being military guys, nobody wants to see no, I don't want to show you who I am. I don't want to show you my emotions. And seeing them graduate, live on to live bigger and better things, and go to college, go to the military. And it was such a rewarding experience that I didn't think that I would have for anybody else other than my own children. It is so rewarding. And I am, it's a level of jealousy, because if there was a Marine Corps JROTC unit here in San Antonio, I would be there every other day trying to get myself in that door, because I'd love to be a Marine Corps JROTC instructor. I think that'd be awesome. And you to be able to do that and have your alumni or your prior cadets that you've trained under you reach back out, and just to be able to just say, "Hey, Mass Sergeant, Never said it then, but let me just tell you now, thank you. And that's all that needs to be said. And that's so great.
I don't know. It's just you have to put time in. It's like I said, for me, it's passion. It's a program that, again, like scientifically, I was an at-risk youth. I mean, there weren't shootings in my street every day, nothing like that. I want to overplay that, but socially, financially, I mean, the things that I got into when I was a kid. That's what I'm trying not to make it sound like, I was a gangbanger or nothing like. No, nothing like that. But I was at risk of not being successful, not being where I am today. And if it wasn't for this program and the things that my instructors instilled in me and being on a Trojan Guard drill team and being a ceremonial guardsman, I wouldn't be where I am today. I tried to say that at the Nationals drill camp. I mean, I got emotional for the first time in my life, speaking publicly. That threw me for a loop. I was like, what? The more I fought it, the more I got emotional. I couldn't even talk. So I let out some tears and said how I felt. And it was a trip. And I'm gonna tell the cadets that are listening out there, it's not a sign of weakness. It's being vulnerable and being passionate. That's all it is. And those are the intangibles that make you successful in life. Find something that you're passionate about, do your best at it, and you'll never work a day in your life.
No, not at all. And that is everything that I build this thing based off of. I want to be able to tell the stories and be able to tell instructors like yourself, drill legends like Matt Windling that I had earlier this season, get their ideas and their names out there, because it's the oxymoron of it. It's such a big yet small thing. And I think if other people knew the community, the family and the love and the passion that is in drill, that there's no reason why that like Drill University that you have can't be doing more for the community. And just to be able to get the name out there for you and for anybody else that's listening that even has the idea of doing something bigger than just themselves is accomplishing my goal here. And I love what you're doing there with Drill University and Texas competitions, because I think if we continue to put drill on this platform that it belongs, I personally believe that drill belongs on a huge platform. It belongs on a pedestal that I don't think nobody quite sees, even beyond the scope of the pad. We can't have a bigger community revolved around this thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's real important to me, and I'm more than sure that it's very, very important to the 200,000 cadets nationwide, because it gives back. It gives back to them, even if they're a regular cadet. It gives them something that's bigger than them that they can be a part of, so that they feel that they belong. And that's a very important thing. That's a very important thing to people, is to belong to something, because it instills a sense of like citizenship or doing something for something that's bigger than you. And once they graduate, they might not even feel it, but as they get older, in their mid-20s to early 30s, they go, man, that was a big influence in my life. All the little things, all the lessons that I was taught. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you that I feel that drill and JROTC should be in a higher pedestal than what it already is.
I appreciate that, brother. Yes, and Master Ybarra, I am so grateful to have you on this platform. You're my first instructor. So I can't appreciate you more, because I hope there are other instructors that are out there that hopefully listen in on this thing and they can learn a thing or two on just the passion and the community that maybe that they don't quite have yet, but something that they're missing out on. And Master Ybarra, I'd love it if you'd be able to close us out from here.
Okay. Most people will never understand what it takes. The hours, the sacrifices, the bruises, the failures, all for a few minutes on the competition floor. This is a world where perfection isn't expected, it's demanded. A world of intense formations, razor-sharp movements, and thrilling tosses that leave the crowd speechless. The difference between a winner and a champion. The winner practices until they get it right, and the champion practices until they can't get it wrong. And yet, despite all the talent, dedication, and passion, drill remains one of the most overlooked competitive activities in the nation. That changes here. This is where the stories are told. This is where the legends are remembered. This is where the future of drill is built. I'm Herman Yogi Ybarra, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, retired. Welcome to the Drill Pad, the voice of the drill community, the home of champions.
Yes, it is. Master Ybarra, once again, I am so grateful for having you here. Before we go and we cut out here, do you have any last shout outs or Anybody you want to throw out there too?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to Master Sergeant Shane Peak for giving me the opportunity to be an instructor. Thank you to all the parents and support of Texas drill competition. We have traveled all over the state of Texas, hosting drill competitions, providing a platform for drillers of all ages to excel. And Drill Warrior University, my love. Thanks to all the board members. Thank you to my daughter for giving me the idea, planting that seed in my brain. And I just want to say thank you to you for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity. And again, everybody knows how to get a hold of me. If you have a question, I'm here for you.
Master Sergeant Ybarra, thank you once more. And to anybody else out there that's listening, I want to know your questions. I want to know your concerns. If you have questions for the next guy, if you have an instructor you want to get on here, that way I can interview them myself. Email me, message me on Instagram, th3drillpad, th3drillpad@gmail.com, or via Instagram. Everybody, take care. Thank you for listening in. You're all dismissed.